the right change. A teenage love.
Me and you tonight, we're gonna make some cash, robbing old folks and making the dash.
You need to get your ass on the dance floor this minute. We bruised up, knock you out shoes.
Okay, so have you ever wondered how hip-hop's greatest storyteller ended up shooting his own cousin 4 times? I mean, with hits like La Di Da Di, Children's Story, and Mona Lisa, we all could have bet our rent money on Slick Rick staying on top forever. So here's the real question. How exactly did this legend go from being one of the most respected rappers in the game to spending some of the most important years of his life behind bars? And more importantly, how did he turn it all around? Well, let's dive in, 'cause this might just be one of the saddest, wildest stories you've ever heard on this channel of how uncontrollable circumstances can literally turn your whole life around. Richard Martin Lloyd Walters was born on January 14th, 1965, and with both his parents originally from Jamaica, Rick was born in the southwest London area of Mitcham. But here's the thing. For Rick, life threw him a curveball right from when he was a toddler. Now, ever wondered how his iconic eye patch came to be? Well, at 18 months, baby Rick got into a fight with a girl, and let's just say it was real messy. A piece of broken glass got into his eye, and despite a bunch of unsuccessful surgeries, the incident left him permanently blind in one eye. Yikes. But instead of letting that tragedy break him, our future hip-hop legend flipped the script. After trying to cover up with Ray-Bans, Rick finally switched to the iconic eye patch we know him for today. And I mean, it was a total game changer for his swag. Anyway, in 1976, when Ricky was around 11, his family moved to the Bronx, New York, which in retrospect was the perfect landing pad for his future career. He got enrolled in LaGuardia High School of Music and Art, where he quickly clicked with Dana Dane. The duo became close and formed Ricky's very first group, the Kangol Crew. And trust me, these boys were on fire, crushing school contests, rocking local parks, and killing it at small clubs. Now listen up, 'cause it's here that things started to get real. In 1984, Rick met Doug, fresh at a talent showcase, and trust me when I say Doug was impressed by our boy. He immediately recruited him as a member of his Get Fresh crew, which included other heavy hitters like DJ Chills Will and Barry B. Now when you put Doug's incredible beatboxing skills and Rick's sick flows together, what do you get? A powerhouse, of course. Together, they birthed the legendary track, La Di Da Di, a tune that's one of the most sampled and referenced tracks in hip-hop history. But despite the immense success on the track, which gave them appearances on both Top of the Pops and Soul Train, Rick decided to fly solo. And in hindsight, we can say this is where all the drama began. In 1986, things got serious for Slick Rick when he inked a deal with the leading hip-hop label at the time, Def Jam Records. But hold up, 'cause it wasn't all champagne and gold chains right out the gate. For his solo debut, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick, our boy felt like he wasn't really feeling how Def Jam was handling the production of the whole thing. And what happens when an artist as iconic as Slick Rick, feeling totally boxed by the label's direction, starts losing interest in what he's creating? He starts pulling back his creative reign, of course. It wasn't until Hank Shockley, a member of Bomb Squad, stepped in that Slick Rick finally finished the album. But thank goodness he did, cause that album. It was pure gold. With hits like Mona Lisa, Children's Story, and Teenage Love, the record rocked the charts, hitting the #1 spot on Billboard's R&B hip-hop chart. Now with him finally reaching all that success, you'd think it was only going to get better, right? Nope. Unfortunately, nothing ever goes as planned in Hollywood. And for Slick Rick, well, you're about to find out. But before we spill the juiciest tea about how Rick ended up in that crazy incident with his own cousin, let's rewind to another scandal that set the hip-hop world buzzing. The notorious beef between Slick Rick and Big Daddy Kane. Now picture this. Two big titans, both dripping with swagger and lyrical prowess, duking it out over who gets to hit the stage first. Crazy, right? But here's the thing. It all didn't start on that particular day, and a whole lot was going on before they ever stepped on stage together. Apparently, Rick said something Kane didn't like in an interview. According to Kane, Rick was talking about rappers he felt he was better than. And when he was asked about Kane, this is what he had to say. And you know how it is, Kane wasn't about to let himself be stepped on like that. So when the two of them ended up touring together, Kane insisted he got paid more and that he performed after Rick, basically demanding that his status be recognized on stage. And oh, you better believe Slick Rick wasn't about to let someone trample over his turf without a fight. The whole thing grew so heated that it almost led to a bloodshed. Okay, so let's get to the main scandal of the day. How did Rick end up shooting his own cousin? Well, buckle up, 'cause this one's straight out of a crime thriller. Now, after his album, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick, our guy was winning. Looking swaggy, wearing the most expensive gold chains, and literally just screaming money. And that for sure doesn't come without a certain type of attention. So at this point, Rick decided it's best to start carrying a gun, just in case something goes wrong. So his mama, Veronica, thought, hey, since you're so scared something might go wrong, why don't you hire your cousin, Mark Plumber, as your bodyguard? Let me tell you, big mistake. If Rick was scared something was going to put him in danger before, it sure did, after he hired his cousin. After Mark arrived in New York from Jamaica, it didn't seem like he was really interested in being someone's bodyguard. Instead, Mark seemed to be more interested in easy money and drug connections. And of course, when someone wants easy money but doesn't want to work, they start making problems, of course. Mark started complaining that Rick wasn't paying him enough. And Rick, fed up of it all but being the generous guy that he is, decided to fire Mark but also give him a severance package of $2,000. That seems fair, right? And you'd think, yup, that's definitely the end of it all. But unfortunately, the story had just begun. After getting fired, all hell broke loose. Mark went rogue. He started busting Rick's properties, trying to take as much of anything as he could find. Yet, that wasn't all. Rick's life was now in danger more than ever. People came to his house, robbed him, tied him up, and pistol whipped him. Yikes! On April 20th, 1990, things took an even worse turn. Rick was sitting, chilling in his car, when several men came to his vehicle and fired multiple shots at him. The bullets sent him, his female passenger, and a man standing nearby to the hospital. And luckily, they all survived. But the real shocker? Rick recognized the men that shot him, and guess what? They were Mark's friends. At this point, Rick's paranoia was off the charts. And seriously, can we even blame him for the next event that was about to play out? At this point, Rick was always carrying a handful of guns with him wherever he went. Then came July 3rd, 1990, when everything came crashing down. Rick went out with his pregnant girlfriend, Lizzie Santiago, to get some Chinese food and go shopping for his unborn baby. Now picture this. The duo were done eating. They got into Rick's car and were on their way shopping when Rick spotted his cousin, Mark. And listen, after everything that went down, you already know Rick wasn't about to take any chances. Paranoid and scared that Mark was going to hurt him and his GF, Rick started firing without hesitation. He managed to hit Mark once or twice in the leg, but his gunshot also caught an innocent bystander in the ankle. And before Rick could even process what just happened, the cops who were patrolling nearby saw the whole incident began to chase Rick's car. Freaking out, Rick ended up crashing into a tree. And just when you think things couldn't get any worse, the impact breaks both of his pregnant girlfriend's legs. Rick got arrested. And to be honest, this is where things seriously started going downhill. He was hit with 2 counts of attempted murder assault, use of a firearm, and criminal possession of a weapon. And despite everything he'd been through, the court wasn't trying to hear it. They slapped him with 14 months to 10 years behind bars. Yikes. Imagine trying to protect yourself from your villainous cousin, but ending up in prison instead. In jail, Rick kept himself busy by taking classes, basically trying anything to keep his mind off the mess he was in. And our boy wasn't sleeping on his music biz too. He released 2 albums, one in 1991 called The Ruler Is Back, and the second in 1994 called Behind Bars. Now, I wish I could say these albums tore up the charts, but let's keep it real. With all the chaos surrounding him, Rick wasn't exactly in his prime creative era. The albums were only met with meh reviews and lukewarm sales. I mean, nothing like his earlier hits. It was clear that the magic just wasn't there. But by now, you'd legit think the worst is over, right? Nope, not even close. His arrests totally opened up a whole new can of worms, exposing that he was never a true citizen of the U.S. And the immigration issues he was about to go through? Wouldn't wish that on anyone. After spending 2 years in prison for the whole shooting incident, Rick was forced to spend another 3 fighting with immigration services over his residency in the U.S. before finally being released in 1997. Yet, his immigration troubles were far from over. In 2003, he got arrested once again when he was coming back from a Caribbean cruise ship and tried to re-enter the U.S. through Florida. And this time, he spent a whole 17 months in prison just over his immigration status. At this point, just imagine being a hip-hop legend, but you can't even move freely in the country where you're supposed to be living, performing, and enjoying your career. Exhausting doesn't even begin to describe it. Finally, in 2008, the universe threw Slick Rick a bone. He was granted a full and unconditional pardon on his attempted murder charges. But let's be real, the damage was done. Years of legal drama and prison time had dragged his career down, keeping him from reaching his full potential. And for a man who could have gone down as one of the biggest names in hip-hop history, that's a tragedy in itself. But after all that chaos, where is Slick Rick today? Did he disappear into hip-hop history, or is he still out here living his best life? Well, let me tell you, our man is thriving. First things first, he's happily married to his longtime girlfriend, Mandy Aragones. And before you even think about asking, wait, what about Lizzie, the pregnant girlfriend he got into that car accident with? Let's just say the chapter did not have a fairy tale ending. Looks like things just didn't work out with Lizzie, and Rick moved on. Oops! But that aside, let's get to the good part. Slick Rick is out here winning. No, he's not exactly chasing mainstream hits again or trying to relive his 80s glory days, but he's far from struggling. In 2018, Rick released the single Snakes of the World Today. He also featured on Westside Gunn's album, Who Made the Sun Shine, in 2020. As of today, Rick's net worth is estimated to be around $3 million. I mean, not bad considering he spent years battling the system. And trust me, not only is he living comfortably, but he's still rocking his signature gold chains, because why not, while making occasional appearances at hip-hop events. And guess what? Here's the best part. In 2016, he even became an official U.S. citizen, putting an end to decades of legal battles. I mean, talk about a full circle moment. So there you have it, the wild, unpredictable, and downright movie-worthy story of how a man who had all the talent, all the charisma, kept getting hit with one setback after another, yet somehow still came out shining. So whether you love him for his crazy storytelling skills, his iconic swag, or simply because he survived one of the messiest journeys in rap history, one thing's for sure, Slick Rick will always be the ruler. And hey, let's be real, what's a great story without a little chaos anyway?